Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again. I am here today to review a show that I was actually going to review last week. If you guys remember, last week I reviewed Deep Trouble, the Goosebumps book, and originally I was actually going to review Love and Death, the new Elizabeth Olsen, Jesse Plemons TV show. I was going to review that last week, but I just thought, I was doing laundry that day, and I just didn't want to go through 4 episodes, so this whole week I've been watching 1 episode of the show every day, and then today I watched 2 episodes. So the show is only 7 episodes, and it is now on the 5th episode for today, so it's just going to be this week, next week, and then the next week after that I review this show, unfortunately. I wonder how it was for people who watched it like week by week, binging a show, watching it, even in just 1 episode every day is a very different experience from binging a show. I've had a lot of binge experience where I'll really like a show and then I'll look back and I'll be like, why the F did I like that? And it's because I binged it. And for example, The Walking Dead. I really liked The Walking Dead. Like the first 4 seasons, kinda. And I binged it all at once. Because this guy at school named Kenny, he spoiled this huge spoiler. And I was like, I was not really ready to get into the show, but he spoiled it. He said, it was so sad that Herschel died. And then he's like, oh shit, oh sorry, oh, I didn't mean to spoil it, oh no. And I thought, you know what, I guess I'm going to have to watch the show, because at my high school, everyone at lunchtime talked about The Walking Dead for the most part. And it was a really great experience binging the show. I would sit there and eat all these homemade chocolate chip cookies and just watch it for hours. And then it got to season 4B, and I started watching it week by week with all the other people at school, and it was terrible. It was like so bad in comparison to, the experience of just watching it all at once and feeling like, I don't know, like you're going on an epic, never-ending adventure, which it'll never end. I mean, you guys can guarantee you will be 90 years old. They will have a movie or a show called The Walking Dead, colon something. Maybe even just colon. Like they could have The Walking Dead, zombie colons. I bet there's a fetish video called Zombie Colon. That'd be a fun video to commentate over. So anyways, Love and Death. This was a show that I heard was coming out, and I didn't watch any trailers. I try to avoid trailers nowadays. All I knew was that you got Elizabeth Olsen. She's a great actress. She is definitely like an A actress. And then you got Jesse Plemons. I would give him an A+. Like he's one of the best. Like everything he's in, he's perfect. I don't think I've seen him in one thing where I thought, oh, I didn't like Jesse Plemons in that movie or show. He's perfect. You could cast him in anything. And you had Lily Rabe from American Horror Story and Tell Me Your Secrets. Honestly, we'll get into that. But I was excited. I was very excited. And I thought, oh, this is such a treat. It's like finding there was this one. I promise I'll stop telling stories. Oh wait, I'll have another story to tell too about today. But that's coming up. Don't worry. So story 2 out of 3. This show reminded me a lot of, there was this one time as a kid where I was searching around the computer room. I can't remember why. And I found in the corner of the room this lime Pepsi. And it was in a bag, a Kroger bag, and it was like all concealed. And it was perfect. And it was in perfect condition and everything. And I drank the shit out of that lime Pepsi. And that's what the show reminds me of, is like you find this perfect lime Pepsi in the corner of a room years later. And you're like, yeah. And then you just slurp it down. Like you'd like to slurp Elizabeth Olsen down. I bet you would. And then I'm just going to get the last story out of the way. So if I sound a little bit weird, I don't know if I do or not, because I don't really listen to my videos anymore. Because that'd be another story. This is like story time or like a confessional. I have sinned today by... Okay, so today I thought it was going to be a 45-minute fillings appointment at the dentist, and I go there, and it was 1 hour and 45 minutes. It was almost 2 hours. It was almost just as long as when I had gotten a root canal a few years ago. And so that's what I did today. And I debated even doing any reviews because I feel like trash a little bit from that whole experience. Ugh. I had to get up and go to the bathroom too because I was like, this probably won't last very long. I'm not going to go to the bathroom beforehand. And then boom, I'm just laying there for 2 hours, just torture, just absolute torture. And then I come home and I watch 2 more episodes of this show. And for starters, I think the real life story is definitely pretty interesting. I think that it has a lot of similarities to Fargo because of the small town elements and some of the dark comedy elements. I think that it is a pretty good true crime show. It definitely was a lot better than what it could have been based on other true crime shows and movies that I've seen. I mentioned the movie Bernie a million times, and I'll mention it a million more times. In that movie, they totally made it out to where it looked like the victim deserved to get killed, and it looked like even though that guy, he killed someone, it's like, oh, but he's such a good person, and she was bad and she deserved it. Like, this show could have gone that route very easily, and it didn't really. I mean, it explored a lot of different points of view. It explored a lot of different I don't know, every episode, there's lots of stuff to discuss, to where it's like every episode you have a different opinion about these characters. It's not just like Candy is innocent woman who, she's very nice and very good. It's like, no, the show calls her actions into question. They call her into question. They call everyone into question on the show. Every character has flaws. Every character feels real, and I know they are real. They're real people, and so that's what I like about this show. And if you're wondering, did I see the show Candy from last year? No. Well, actually, I planned on, instead of doing just a review of this show, I was going to do a versus show where I put Candy versus Love and Death. But I could not get through one episode of Candy. Even though Jessica Biel gets naked for a very short second or two, which was very nice. It was a terrible show. It was ugly. Like, they made the color palette, you know how they suck the color out of everything nowadays in movies and television. Well, they not only did that, but they rubbed like the video with curry sauce and shit, and then they peed all over it as well. And like, that's what it looks like. It just looks so ugly and terrible, and it does not look like a show that I want to watch for 5 hours. And then the characters look a lot more like they do in real life, except I will say that I think that Jesse Plemons was a better casting for Alan. Everyone else pretty much looks better. Although there is a point, I think, to why they cast Elizabeth Olsen that, really works creatively, in my opinion. So, episode 1. This is all about the lead up to the affair between Candy and Alan. And she is a housewife, and, he is a father, and they are both thinking about doing this really nasty thing that, responsible adults really shouldn't be doing. Now, the thing is that I really kind of like this episode because it just felt like the perfect, solid, steady build-up to something. Why did they cast Elizabeth Olsen? I really think because it makes you think about yourself and like, oh, I'd like to have an affair with Elizabeth Olsen. But then you look at Candy Montgomery in real life. She looks like Peggy Hill, and, nobody would want to have an affair with Peggy Hill. And so, to me, I think that that's the genius in casting her as this character, is that it kind of helps you empathize with the story more and get more into it, like, it's hard to see in real life why. I mean, honestly, Alan had a much more beautiful wife, even though it seemed like she had anxiety problems and a couple other problems. She seemed like a pretty decent person. And then you have Candy, and she seems okay, but I mean, I don't see the attraction, I don't see the pull. And so I really liked how they cast Elizabeth Olsen. I thought that was actually a great way of like taking liberties in a real life story, movie, or show, but not doing it in like a disrespectful way or a way that's like too much or doing too much. And plus, it is also really hilarious. The first episode, if anything, you could just watch like the first 3 episodes or 4 episodes, and you could just kind of watch that, and it could be like a little movie, and then skip like all the court stuff afterward. But it's really, really funny watching Elizabeth Olsen pining over Jesse Plemons. I mean, I saw that he lost weight again, which is really cool. He looks like Matt Damon Jr. again. He doesn't look like Jackie from Super Dumbasses anymore, unfortunately. But in this show, he just looks like so dopey, and he just always has like this similar expression, like he's just so, like, I don't know, like he's just this really average guy. He's just like this hulking, like pudgy guy, and he's just like so nice and so like wholesome, and then you have Elizabeth Olsen, and she's just like, oh my god, I want to have sex with him so badly. Like, she's practically drooling all over him in public, everywhere, in front of each other's partners. And it's just really hilarious watching that, because it's like, you know that probably that Elizabeth Olsen in real life wouldn't go near Jesse Plemons. And then, so episode 1, it was a start. It was a nice start. It definitely pulled me in. I would give it, where did I give? A B. The second episode, I'm going to kind of read off my notes. In this one, the affair continues, and there's this whole scene where Jesse Plemons takes a shower with Elizabeth Olsen, and, you know, he's late for work. He's got to get back to work, so she just lets him jump in the shower. And it's kind of already going against their rule that they wouldn't get too attached. And there's this really ingenious symbolism in this scene. And it's symbolic that their affair is going to get more serious. Because the shower water, it's cleaning them off physically, but they're not really clean of their emotions for each other, which you can see throughout the scene. Now, Betty is a big problem for me, because not the person in real life, but the character in the show. I don't think, I apologize, but I don't think that Lily Rabe was right for the role. I think the only character in both shows, from what I've seen, the only character who Candy has the advantage on in terms of acting and just getting the right actor, I definitely think the woman from Rose Red is meant for this role, Betty. But still, it is fun seeing Lily in something. I just kind of wish that they had done a Tell Me Your Secrets Season 2 instead. I mean, we are at a point now where, you know, the other woman in Tell Me Your Secrets, she did, after that one season, she did The Old Man Season 1, and that show is a giant piece of pretentious shit. And then Lily did this show, which is a great show, but she doesn't really fit. She's a little bit too, like, I don't know, like, when I look at her and I look at the woman in real life, I just kind of get, like, completely different vibes. And so I really think that the woman from Rose Red was more suited for the role. But still, it is fun seeing Lily in the show, as I said. She does not like change, and supposedly she might have even lied about the affair that she had, because the story is that Jesse Plemons is like, oh yeah, well, my wife had an affair years ago, so, you know, it could kind of get even now. Well, you know, she might have lied about that. That might not have even happened. Which I totally believe. And then there's this whole plot of, like, the female minister leaves, and then this new minister comes in and he's trash. He's one of the funnier characters of the show, because he's just this little shrimpy guy, and he's come to the small town of, you know, people who don't like change or anything new, and it's really funny with him and her interaction. And then I kind of didn't like how they were portraying Elizabeth Olsen's husband at first. You know, it's like he's just a normal guy. He's just a nice, normal guy. And she has to be a housewife. Wah! As if this life she's living isn't really nice, and she's not really, really lucky to have the life that she has. Boo-hoo. Typical 2023 being a housewife is oppression and torture. Wah! But I will say that, you know, this is outdated, because they do kind of prove that they're not really showing that point of view. Her character always wants more in life. And so they kind of make that the reason why she has the affair. At first I was really getting kind of pissed off because I'm just so sick of these movies and shows where people complain about being housewives and shit. Like, it's like, I think kids in Africa would much rather grow up and be housewives than, be in Africa still, starving to death and shit. Like, seriously. There's this weird thing now where, like, any time a movie or show takes place in the past, you always have to complain about, like, all the social norms. You always have to complain about, like, oh my god, women stayed at home back then and they cooked and they cleaned and they took care of the children. Wah! And I just get so sick and tired of it. So I was kind of worried that that's where they were going. And they were making the husband at first out to be like a bad guy because he laughs and he mows the lawn and he watches comedy shows on TV. Like, it's like a normal person would just see this guy and be like, why are you complaining? Like, he's just like a normal guy. Like, what's he supposed to do? Like, seriously. There is like one little thing where I can't remember, was this in this show or Candy, where she told him to read her poem and he did, but he didn't really remember it very much, so it made it look like he didn't really care. Still, it's like, if I had to choose between... No, I won't do that. I won't do that. So there's lots of montages of sex scenes in the show with music, and I gotta say, the sex scenes were pretty weak. They were pretty 2023. In fact, let's look up. You guys know what I need to look up. Because I have a 80% suspicion that this is another one of those shows with a certain type of person on set that ruins all sex scenes in television and movies. Let's see. Love and Death IMDb. Love and Death IMDb. I'm here. All cast and crew. Let's see. Let's scroll. Editing, music, casting. Where do we get to the other people? The people who, they've added a lot of strange positions now that are really a waste of money, to be quite honest. Dialect coach prep. See, that's a very helpful position. Now, I promise I'm not ignoring the microphone, but I have to see if my suspicions are confirmed. There's a COVID assistant production manager. What the fuck is that for? COVID testing manager. God, what a waste of money hiring those people. Let's see. They didn't have one? Really? Really? This show didn't have this show was a normal show. Oh, I am so impressed. Oh, that's so amazing. Oh, that just made my day. There was a television show in 2023 where they did not hire the unmentionable ones. You guys know who I'm talking about. You guys know. The fucking sex police that ruined all sex scenes. And so I didn't really like the sex scenes very much because they were very similar, and I kind of wished that they were more dirty and grimy and kind of like a noir. You know, they had this picture on Google Images of Candy having an affair, and it was very like noir. It looked very, very like sleazy and, you know, like a Blood Simple, the Coen brothers' first movie. And I kind of wish the sex scenes looked more like that and less like a Hallmark movie type thing. But still, like, I'm just gonna not talk about that anymore because I'm just so impressed. Like, wow, there's actually a television show where, you know, they weren't retarded enough to hire those people. And props to you. Props to this show. I like how they show that Betty, the victim, played by Lily Rabe, she has problems as a person, but they're not totally condemning her. She's still a very good woman, and it's obviously not sending a message that she should have been killed, like in Bernie. If anything, this episode shows how these two people having an affair is just as problematic and bad as the boring housewife life. You know, like both of those situations, I guess they were kind of seeming really similar, and not like one is better than the other. Just because being a housewife is boring doesn't mean it's as bad as two people having an affair, especially while one husband's wife is pregnant. It also, to be honest, it really seems like Elizabeth Olsen likes playing housewife. I bet if they make like a virtual reality wife simulator, she will be the actress playing the wife. That's just a prediction, so write it down, and then if I'm right, you owe me $1,000. Or Winona Ryder, hopefully. So I give episode 2 a B+. Now episode 3, I really liked episode 3. You know, this was the emotions episode. It's a nice parallel how in episode 2, Betty and Alan went to marriage encounter with, and then in this episode, Candy goes with Pat. So you have that parallel of each couple going to marriage encounter, which, marriage encounter? It's pretty weird. Although the show has slowed down a little bit in episode 3, it could have been a movie, this show, but I prefer it to be a show. Just ignore that little comment. I also love how Pat figures out the truth first, and that is Elizabeth Olsen's husband. His character is actually really, really good. The episode should have been called It's Pat, because he stole the show. Finally. Then at the end, we get the encounter where Candy murdered Betty. But it is a cliffhanger ending. I would give episode 3 a B+ as well, because episode 4 I'll talk about the show in general, if you like zoom out of these episodes. So in episode 4, it's really, you know, they show the whole encounter basically, and then they show the reaction of finding the body and her trying to cover it up and all this jazz. I liked when everyone in town is gossiping over the crime, and like Elizabeth Olsen, she's getting like a million phone calls, like just one after the other. like a typical small town. I think the death scene, though, it's a little meh. I would have preferred to see the entire murder, because what they did was they filmed, I guess, like the entire murder, but then they kind of just show snippets here and there. I don't know if they'll show the full thing in the courtroom episodes, but it kind of just feels like the typical thing nowadays where, oh God, ew, 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 what the hell is that? Ew. Sorry guys, there was a weird insect on my foot. So I would like to see the full scene, in other words. I also like how the new terrible minister, who Lily did not like at all, he actually gives the funeral service for her. I thought that was pretty funny and ironic. This episode, though, I'd just give a B-. So far, no episode of the show has really wowed me. It's just kind of solid in an okay way. Like, it's funny because I was supposed to do this last week, and it actually really does feel like an R.L. Stine Goosebumps book, in the way that if you read his books, they start off a particular way, and they just stay that way for the entire book. You know, there's never any surprises or parts where, you know, he changes and goes new directions. It's just this flat line the entire Goosebumps book. Very similar in this show. Now, episode 5, I would dare to say, is the most interesting one to me so far. I really like, in particular, the guy from Iron Fist. He plays Candy's lawyer. He's really good. He is also like Jesse Plemons, where I think that he's one of the best actors around nowadays. The psychiatrist scene at the end of the episode is a highlight of the series so far, and this is definitely the best episode so far. I would give it a B+, though. Not like an A. So overall, this show, if you're just looking for something good to watch and, you know, you want to watch like a true crime show, then just watch an episode or two, or watch the whole thing. Just, you know, take your time with it. Don't rush through it to do a review or anything like me. And just enjoy the ride. You know, just know that it's not going to be amazing and it's not going to be bad. You know, it's just going to be pretty good. It's, to me, the thing that kind of reminds me of is KFC coleslaw. That's my food rating for this season. KFC coleslaw, it has a particular, like, it's like just okay, and it's not really great, it's not terrible, it's just okay. And that's what this show is to me. It's like if you got a huge bowl of KFC coleslaw and you ate that every night for dinner for the next couple of weeks. It's not the greatest because it's, you know, I mean, coleslaw, it's really good, but it's not a full dinner, it's not a full meal. And I would say the same thing about this show. It feels a little samey. It feels a little, like, flat. Like, pretty much, there have been a couple of surprises. Number one, Betty, a.k.a. Lily, getting the axe at the end of episode 3 was very, very good. I like that cliffhanger. And then the scene at the psychiatrist, those were really the only kind of like interesting, sort of like shocking moments in the show. where you're like, oh, that threw me for a loop. And I really hope that the show has a couple of more of those up their sleeves, or I guess just one sleeve. Because so far, this show is just, it is a B. It is a straight B. It is a B show for a B story in real life. Like, the story in real life, it's a B story as well. I mean, it's not an A true crime story, but it was very worthwhile to see the story anyway. Especially with these great actors and everything. I really hope that maybe they get some awards acknowledgement. But then again, award shows are trash. So please like this video, comment, tell me what you think of the show, because I would recommend it. It's on HBO Max. So on Monday night you can watch The White House Plumbers, and then I think on Wednesday night or whatever, you can watch Love and Death. Or you could go watch Candy, which, if you want to, that's fine. I'm not going to watch it, but if you want to, then have fun. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest reviews. And that's it. Goodbye, everybody. See you next week.